Welcome back once again to the important topic of employee onboarding. Piotr, what exactly would you say are the primary problems that frequently occur in such a comprehensive onboarding process?
There are quite a few of them. The market has defined these problems for us in thematic blocks. First of all, it's about organization. How to organize this process so that it doesn't become harmful to other employees.
And what does harmful mean, and why would it be harmful?
Let me give you some examples. Harmful, meaning employees who are required to work on this project. It takes up more of their time, and as a result, they have less time to achieve their own goals. That's right. Here, for example, we were talking about managers or direct supervisors. Because if we have trainers, they are dedicated to this role. If we have a buddy, that function is usually combined, so it's also dedicated to this. But mainly, the point is not to take away the free space for other employees to achieve their goals.
And that really is quite a big problem.
Not only is it a problem, but it's also a financial burden. And then there are also typically psychological aspects that come into play, meaning if I'm working toward my own goal, but I have to onboard a new employee and I don't achieve my goal, it's obvious that I'll be motivated to focus on my own goal because of my salary, my bonus, my image in the eyes of my boss, and maybe because I have a certain career path planned out. And in this case, it becomes more difficult for me. So that's kind of the main thread here. The second issue when it comes to problems is technology. What we said about those manuals, which are being phased out but still remain, that's also technology, for example, related to e-learning. Traditional old-school e-learning used to last. You'd log in, watch slides for 40 minutes.
You'd start the presentation, go get a coffee, and come back when it was over.
And where's the effectiveness in that?
And I think that's pretty outdated given how we perceive things now. We're not able to focus. And then there's knowledge assessment.
That's why we dedicate microlearning solutions, those knowledge pills plus short videos. So the smaller the dose of information, the more effective the learning. And we measure it right away. We don't wait a week or two, we measure it immediately. And to verify whether it has moved from so-called short-term memory to long-term memory, for example, we repeat the material a week later. So we check whether the employee has actually encoded the information. It's not about memorizing, passing, and forgetting, but whether they have truly mastered the knowledge. And we can verify this multiple times through the test using the survey module.
Okay. So if the employee has gone through this kind of problem, what else could be a problem on such a platform or in the onboarding process itself? Relationships.
Interpersonal relationships, meaning the relationship between the employee and the team they work with, the relationship between them and, for example, a buddy, a trainer, or their direct supervisor. So we can design a system like this. I'll give another example because that's always the most effective, where employees, the team, send a welcome video to the new employee. Everyone is in the video, they introduce themselves, talk about what's going on and what they do. There's usually something funny in it. Thanks to this, when the new employee joins the department, they immediately know these people.
And here,
there's already this atmosphere right away, like, oh, you're Wojtek, you're Kazia. So for them, it's much more beneficial.
I think that's pretty cool too, because in most companies, when you start, you usually run into a communication barrier at first. And we know well that even this short video format should help ease that tension a bit, but also the way the knowledge is then conveyed. I think that's important. And
let's imagine the other side. So it's the employee who records a video about themselves and sends it to the department. And in the same way, employees know who's coming in. It works both ways. So those interpersonal relationships, when it comes to interpersonal relationships, I would call it the ability to give feedback, because there are organizations that don't do this habitually. It's a difficult element. Some people are afraid of feedback because then I might come off worse. But in this process, we're setting up, feedback is constant. So first we teach people how to give feedback, whether it's FUO, FUCO, or any other module. And only then, during the process, do they start giving each other feedback. So both the employee who is onboarding, the buddy to the employee, the supervisor to the buddy, for example, or the HR manager to the buddy, as well as the whole team.
Okay, so I have one question here. Is this anonymous from the perspective of the elements of the onboarding process? Will the employee or the person onboarding be afraid of the others to present such an opinion, let's call it, about the beginnings of this cooperation?
It used to be like that. But here we are, advocates of openness, of course, as a company. Because if an employee is supposed to give feedback, it's obvious who is giving it. So there is no anonymity. If they have one buddy, it means they're giving feedback to the buddy, and so on and so forth. So we are advocates that if you properly implement this skill, this routine of giving feedback, it becomes easier for people to speak up. If it only happens once in a while, everyone is worried about not hurting someone, or maybe someone will get mad at me, or things will turn out differently. From
the manager's point of view, it's important to have that flow of information, what's not working and let's fix it, right?
Yes.
Constantly improving the process, in fact.
Let me refer to that because that's also one of the elements, not improving the process. So yes, there's no feedback about the process, no feedback about the tasks, for example, whether they're appropriate, whether they're interesting in terms of content, whether they're difficult or easy. There's no information, for example, about the attachments that are necessary in the application, meaning important documents. So I don't know what I'm supposed to improve. So as someone in the HR department responsible for onboarding, I don't know what I should improve. Through regular feedback, whether substantive or even just emojis for that matter, we can check the employee's level of satisfaction after each week. At the start, we used emojis, smiling, happy, everything's great, new job, new challenges. After a week, we see a neutral face, and after 2 weeks, when more is added, we see, okay, a sad face.
Not good.
So because of that, we can already intervene, because when we see the face changing, we can take action. Instead of the employee telling us after 2 weeks, I made a mistake.
Exactly. The whole onboarding process for a position which requires financial resources, right?
Yes.
And the onboarding itself, as well as carrying out the recruitment process, all of that is a cost.
So the problem was that a very large number of people who get hired either quit during the onboarding period or right after. And we don't monitor this. We don't know
What went wrong?
We only see the statistical number.
Okay, let's delve into the comprehensive analyses and the various key indicators that provide valuable insights and help us understand the current situation and future trends.
I'm coming back to those indicators. We really need to record a separate episode about that. We have 11 indicators when it comes to measuring the effectiveness of the process. And if we don't measure this, we don't see progress or regress. So, as I mentioned about that indicator, you could assume 3 months per month, meaning an implementation period without loss of efficiency. If we don't properly analyze, for example, the situation, when this employee completed the task, whether it was on a specific day or in a specific order, then again I only see the outcome and I don't see the details that could be improved, changed, or refined. So the more indicators I analyze, the more effective I will be in this process. And this can go on in circles, because this process will never die. It will constantly be improved. A bit of the Kaizen methodology, meaning small steps to make improvements. Small ones. Let's not overhaul the entire machinery after 2 years of changes because there's no need.
Especially since we already have this process divided into small sequences anyway. Thanks to this, it's easier to control everything and to replace a small screw, not the whole thing.
That's a nice metaphor. Just replace the screw, not the entire module.
Okay.
Maybe I'll mention a name that's rarely stated directly when it comes to... In general, the word problem is a rather specific word. Some people in positive psychology say there are no problems, only challenges. There are both problems and challenges. So this is a problem related to the fact that when the onboarding process ends, the employee suddenly finds themselves completely alone. It's like a child growing up and leaving home.
Okay, and here more problems arise at the next stage.
Yes.
So maybe at our next meeting we can also discuss these issues.
Or maybe we shouldn't discuss these problems anymore. Let's move on to solutions. So what solutions can be used to prevent these problems or eliminate them as they arise? In my opinion, that's interesting for the listeners as well.
Okay, so let's give it a try.
Great, thanks a lot.
Thanks.